Launch control should be now active. My left foot is hard down on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. Listen to that. Oh! And there we go. Hey guys, welcome to my first drive video on Hyundai's brand new IONIQ 6N. I must admit, when I first heard about the IONIQ 5N, I didn't believe all the hype. I saw all the videos online about the simulated revs and gear shifting and just didn't buy it until about this time last year when I borrowed one and took it out on track, and boy oh boy, it didn't take me long to change my mind. I normally smile when I'm on a track day, but it's very rare that I get the giggles. And they're promising us that this 6N is a further development from that car. Production is due to start in October, November time later this year, and we should see them in the UK early 2026. Prices as of today haven't been confirmed, but the IONIQ 5N is around £65,000, and I reckon that this is going to be, let's say, £3,000 to £5,000 more than that. Underneath, in terms of running gear, it's fundamentally the same, which isn't a bad thing. 600-ish horsepower on tap all the time, and 641 horsepower when you're using launch control. I believe that's available for about 10 seconds. But aside from that, we understand in the briefing, they've changed an awful lot, especially in terms of electronics and software. And let's face it, this is mostly made up of electronics and software, and the hardware as well, so the suspension. Let's go and have a quick walk around and look at the changes between this, the IONIQ 5N, and the regular IONIQ 6. But starting around the front end, well, there's a lot more vents and styling to make it look more aggressive. Next, we should talk about the paint. And you're probably sitting there thinking, well, it's the performance blue. We've seen that on the i30N, the i20N. And you're kind of right, it is performance blue, but it's actually performance blue pearl. Not that you could tell that in this studio, but if we took it out in the sunlight, you would see the amazing pearl effect in the paintwork. Continuing down the side of the car, well, we have these new aero wheels. Now, I'm not a fan of aero wheels in general, but I understand why they're there, especially on EVs. Behind them, we've got a massive set of brakes that have been lifted straight off the IONIQ 5N, which I've experienced on track for an entire day with no fade. So I'm pretty confident that they'll do a fantastic job. The track has got wider, so it's actually 30 mil on each wheel arch, if you think about it like that. So 60 mil across the axle, so it gives it a bit more of a pumped up appearance, a bit like BMW's M3. We've got a lovely little lip here that comes out to go around the rear wheels, because on the regular IONIQ 6, you don't get that. This is a flat panel. So this is a completely unique panel, as is the front wheel arch. The actual overall wheelbase length is 30 mil longer. So they've had to extend it a little bit because of the complex suspension that lies underneath. So this has some very trick dampers from ZF, which are adaptive, and they've changed a lot of the geometry and setup of the suspension. Obviously, it's a completely different car, so packaging-wise, it's been quite difficult for them, especially around the front axle. They've also played around with the kinematics, etc., to help aid the driver and the driving dynamics. The last thing really to talk about styling-wise is when we get around the back of the car. Well, obviously, you've got a big diffuser down here. It looks very futuristic, this car. And we have a big wing, which does do something for aero, apparently, but doesn't give you a massive amount of downforce, but it also doesn't give you any lift. And I think it is what this car needs. I'm not the biggest fan of the regular IONIQ 6. The car's obviously a lot lower than the 5N as well. What does that mean? Well, the center of gravity is lower, and lower center of gravity on your sports car is really, really important. Jumping inside, and it all seems very familiar to me, although it has been a year since I had that 5N. The steering wheel, the switchgear, the dashboard does look very, very similar, and that's not a bad thing. There's lots of buttons here. It's almost like stepping back in time, but for those of you that watch my channel regularly, you know that I love my buttons. So it's great to see things like the climate control completely separate to the main infotainment screen. The steering wheel itself, well, you're definitely in an N product because there's a massive N in front of me. Lots of blue stitching, performance blue stitching. We've got some N buttons here. We've got the N Grin, I've forgotten what NGB stands for, but anyway, it's a little bit of a cheesy saying. And then we've got the drive mode button over here. And then we have some paddles around the back of the wheel, which does tell me and confirm that this car has the N E-shift, which the 5N had and made it such a brilliant car. So looking forward to experiencing that, because they have made some tweaks to the gear ratios, although we all know they're not real gears. So they've made some tweaks to the electronics, but I've already heard from some of the journos out there that it's definitely noticeable. In terms of the driving position itself, I wouldn't say it's ideal, but remember I'm 6'4". I'm sitting extremely high in the seat, and the seat is as low as it goes. So if you are very tall, then the 5N might be the better bet. But this does have a sunroof, which is one of the only or very few options. Not sure if we're getting that option in the UK, but obviously having a sunroof does eat into the headlining a little bit. But I do wish that these seats did sit a little bit lower. The seats themselves, they're supportive, they're comfortable, and I'm sure they'll do a great job like they did in the 5N. They also separate this model from the regular 6 or the regular 6N line, I think they call it. Looking forward to heading outside and experiencing what it's like to drive, because to me, that's the most important thing about anything N. Right then guys, you now join me behind the wheel of a pre-production IONIQ 6N. We can test out launch control, we can test out some of the handling dynamics through the slalom course in the center there. We haven't been given any figures in terms of weight or in terms of acceleration, but what I can say is the IONIQ 5N weighs 2,235 kilos, and I assume this would be about the same. Let's put it into my favorite mode, N E-shifts. Essentially, it simulates a automatic box that has a manual override. So just like I have in my M5 Touring, except we know this is an electric motor and we know there's not an 8-speed gearbox in it. But it's really convincing in the 5N, so I'm sure it will be in this, because they've played around with it and tweaked it. They've actually shortened the first 3 ratios. So third gear in this is very similar to second gear in the 5N. Let's pull that paddle and just set off. Well, it sounds awesome. They have changed the sounds of it a little bit. They've tried to make it sort of different to the 5N, and a lot of that has been motorsport inspired, apparently. So yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. Let's try a launch control. I've actually got my Racebox Mini hiding under the bonnet, but my phone is here. So let's see what we can achieve in this car. What you can do in this is use the gear simulations, or the manual box if you like, and do launch control. You couldn't do that in the 5N. So launch control should be now active. My left foot is hard down on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. Listen to that. Listen to that. Here we go. Oh! And there we go. 3.04 seconds to 60 miles an hour. So it's 0.2 of a second quicker. We're not going to do another launch here. We're just going to go down to these cones, apparently, and change the direction. Oh, wow. It is so agile. Now we can play around with the N-torque distribution. There are so many things that we can play around with here. There's so much trick technology going on underneath me. Obviously, because it's all electric, they can play around with so many things. We've got all sorts of torque vectoring and so much technology and information they've learned off the 5N that they've now injected into this car. So I can play around with the N-torque distribution. So we can put it onto the front axle. Let's try full front axle. Yeah, I actually heard a little bit of wheel spin there on the front axle. And for the slalom, I'm going to bring it all the way back to the rear axle. Although we're not drifting the car, let's just see if I could feel anything as we change direction. Oh, well, again, we got some wheel spin there. It's unreal. So something they talked about in the briefing earlier on was just how much they focused on not just lowering the centre of gravity, but making sure that each 275 section tyre has a very, very good contact patch with the ground, because obviously that's where you get your grip from. I talk about that a lot with my M2, for instance. That's why it has a lot of negative camber on the front axle. So when it's loaded up through a corner, you're using all of the tyre. And that's really important, especially on a big, heavy car like this. Something else that makes this NE shift even more impressive is not just the fact that it simulates shift on the way up, it also simulates you hitting the rev limiter. So if we pull off here in first gear and I leave it in manual, we've hit the limiter. You then pull that and it gives you second, and then you're on the limiter again. It is just unreal. And then to help that, on the way down again, when you're slowing down, and I experience this lots with the 5N on track, is it gives you engine braking, which is just bizarre. It's unbelievable. Right then guys, now we're out on a dynamic handling circuit, and my very useful instructor has just shown me the way around here. And although it's not very long lap-wise, it is quite technical, and it will give me some feeling of what this car's like when it's under some proper load, because not only are there corners on the other side that we'll see in a second, there are some undulations, up and downs, almost like a little mini Nürburgring, if you like. Now, what's really impressive, even on these slower laps, is when we're coming through a radius corner like this and we tighten it up on the exit, it just turns in. You can feel that mechanical grip on the front axle. The way it lays the power down out of the corner is just so impressive, but you kind of expect that because, well, I know what the 5N is like, and that would just be incredible around here as well. But everything just feels a little bit more hunkered down. And once again, I'm now in sport, and I'm not using the NE shift, but we've got a different sound. And something I need to talk about in terms of the sound is actually, because this is a pre-prototype car, the sound is not final. They have told us that the sound might change between now and a full production car. But either way, the current sound is really good. It's almost like V6-y. That's what it sounds like to me, like a nice, highly strung V6, which suits this car and this platform. I'll shut up and push on a little bit harder now. I can feel the electronics holding me back because the traction control, etc., is switched on just in case I run out of talent. But it's not doing it in too much of an intrusive way. EVs are very good at that, even Porsche's Taycan. When you push it hard, you can feel the electronics doing the work, but it's not like an old school traction control. But you do know it's happening. But the great thing is you can turn it all off. Like out of there, I could feel it holding me back a little bit. I'm not pushing anywhere near as hard as my instructor was a minute ago. But the car gives me confidence. It's got so much grip. It really is unreal. And it's a complete package as well. It's not just acceleration, it's the way it slows down. It's really positive, stable on the brakes. Through these undulations, this is where you should feel the weight of the car, but it's not too bad at all. Coming in here over this brow, braking in a straight line. Again, this tightens up this corner on the exit, which really does test the car when you've got to do that. Let's go through here a little bit faster this time. We've got to remember to dab the brakes to settle the car a little bit here. Be patient on the accelerator. Now I can put my foot down. And the brakes are absolutely mighty. And a lot of that is because of the regen. So the regen is helping you when you're slowing down. And therefore, the brakes don't actually get as hot as they would on a normal sort of combustion engine 2.2, 2.3 ton car, because when they're regenning, you're not using the actual caliper and pad as much. So as I found out on track last year, you can actually abuse the car for more laps than you really think you should. Right, let's change it into N shift mode. There we go.
So first on M mode.
Oh, M, what's this? M mode?
Now it's just N mode.
Oh, N mode, yeah.
That,
Okay, cool. Right.
Two more left.
Oh, okay. Right, so everything's stiffer now, right? Straight away. Right, now we're in N mode. Everything is sharpened up. The throttle, the handling, the turning. Oh yeah, it feels so much more stable. It's unreal. Oh, it's also backed off the traction, so I'm actually getting traction out there now. Feels great. It feels so good. How is this possible? Just keeps turning. Tighten that last bit up. Oh, lovely. Fantastic. Really, really nice. Oh, it's just, it shouldn't be possible. It really shouldn't. It's a big, long, heavy car, but it handles so beautifully. You can feel the rear end wanting to rotate there on the exit. There is so much going on beneath me, it's not even funny. That was 170 clicks. What's that, 110 miles an hour? In such a short space. All right, let's have N E shift. To me, this is the funnest mode. I loved it in the 5N. And it just puts a smile on my face. Oh, yes. We're not going any faster, but I'm having more fun because I've got those gears. Oh, yes. On the brakes, shift down, fourth, third. We could even do second through here if we want. Nice and wide. Oh. And the gear ratios are a lot shorter in this car, so on the road, that's going to translate to you using the gears more, which is always a good thing at legal speeds or thereabouts. Oh, brilliant. It's so realistic, I can't tell you. I mean, I stressed that in my 5N video, but honestly, brilliant. And those gears are giving me engine braking as I slow down, which makes no sense because there is no engine. Oh, brilliant. We get one more lap?
Yep.
Brilliant. Right, let's leave it in fourth through here. It's over braked to me. I was doing that in the 5N around Bedford last year. The brakes are so good. Right, it's time for me to wrap this video up. It's been an awesome day. It's been a very hot day. It's 30 degrees out there and very, very muggy. And it's been a very busy day. We've been doing lots of things. So trying to put this video together has been quite hectic, at least in my jet-lagged head. But what I'm taking away from this new IONIQ 6N, well, it still has all of the handling dynamics that the 5N had and some, which is a good thing. And I knew that it was going to be very similar. And like I said, if anything, it's gained some more handling dynamics. The negatives, I would say, is the driving position for me. Although in the 5N it's not perfect, I've got more headroom. In this, I'm really limited. If I want to take this out on a track day, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to put a helmet on. But I am tall. I'm 6'4", 193, and I've got a very long torso. So I do struggle in a lot of cars. The other negatives, again, me being tall, if I get in the back seat, the sloping headline does sort of touch my head. I have to sort of sit like that. So you don't get the headroom in the back that you get in the 5N, but you'd expect that because the 5N packaging. And the boot as well is not as practical. It's a small opening. But in terms of the handling, the new sound, the improved sound, I can't wait to get my hands on one of these in the UK and actually run it for a week or two, really get to experience and understand it, because there's so much going on in here that today I didn't get to touch any of it properly, but that wasn't what today was about. It was about experiencing it for the first time, and wow, what an experience. Anyway guys, thanks for watching the video. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Massive thanks to Hyundai for inviting me out here. It's been so cool. Yesterday we did some amazing cultural stuff, and it's just a beautiful country, and Seoul is a beautiful city. There's so much to see. So if you're thinking about coming over as a tourist and experiencing that, then don't think twice, go and do it. I'll see you at another video very, very soon. Cheers.